It's time to do my OnlyLens review of a lens that's small but packs a punch. I guess they say it's not the size, it's just how you use it, right? Right? This is a Tamron 20-40 f2.8, which is a lens that comes in at $699. For me, this has been a great wide lens in the 20 millimeters to the 40 range, which is a small and compact lens. This has a lot of, nice advantages to have whenever it comes down to an all-around lens for travel, using for like a vlogging type of things, and having really ergonomics that are just really nice because it's very small and compact that you can bring it with you anywhere in your camera bag or on your camera. This lens is really great for the compact size to be able to be used for video work on a gimbal. If you're trying to get those nice wide range to a little bit more of the 35 to the 40, using it on a gimbal is quite nice. You don't get too tired to use it while you're maintaining it. Since I've used it with my 35 to 150 before, it does get quite tiring, but if you're wanting to do a little bit more gimbal work, this lens is really great for that since it's a nice and compact lens and it doesn't really weigh as much because of the weight of the style of the lens. So it's really nice for that. So how well can this lens work for video? This lens is phenomenal because it has a 20 millimeter range to the 40, meaning you have a nice wide range so you can use it for your vlogging needs if you need to, but then you also get the nice 24, 28, 35, and 40 range where you can use it for a good variety for B-roll type of videos. This lens is phenomenal for everyday content creation, especially with your video needs. You're able to do a lot with it, and as well if you want to do a more pro type of video. I have used it personally for my YouTube channel a lot with the vlogging needs to be able to do a one-stop shop for video whenever I'm on the go. And whether it's more the professional side or just kind of content creation, it really packs a punch for that. And I really can't speak highly enough of it after using it all this time. Because the great thing about this lens being so wide for video, it gives you a little bit more amplitude in tight spaces, as well as getting more up close into your face if you need to, just to add a little bit of compression with the 35 and the 40 range. So if you're trying to get a lens that can be a little bit of a do-it-all for kind of your video needs, this one is honestly a great option. So now let's talk about the photography side of using this lens. This lens has an all-around range when it comes down to having those wide shots if you're trying to do more landscape or architecture type of photos, so you can capture a lot of your scenery around you. The nice part about this lens as well is you get the 24 millimeter range to have some cool little portrait style if you want to do a different type of more artistic kind of portraits, but as well having the 35 to the 40 range, which to me the sweet spot is the 35 since I love shooting 35 millimeter focal range, since my first kind of prime lens was a 35 millimeter. And for me, that way you can do a lot more with this lens if you need to zoom in, zoom out, but you have a wide variety for photos. Because having this kind of type of focal range allows you to do more of those establishing shots, getting those mid-range shots, as well as getting just a little bit more of the portraiture, kind of getting in your face type of photos. But the nice thing is you can get details of any sort of it. Even at the 20 millimeter range, I can do a little bit of kind of a certain type of like macro type of photos, which is nice. So I can have a little bit of variety if I want to, spice things up a bit with getting more texture type of photos whenever I need to. And I've honestly used this lens as well for an all around, one lens stop whenever it came down to doing some photos for street photography, because you're able to do a nice wide range of type of shots. I'm able to do wider if I want to capture the audience and everything that's happening around us, getting a little bit closer, but also doesn't draw too much attention when it comes down to taking those photos to take away from the scenery or the atmosphere of the shot that I'm trying to take, which is quite nice. And the best thing about it, I have been using this lens when it comes down to wanting to condense down if I want to use maybe only my Sony a7 IV or my ZV-E1 to do a lens for just videos and then some photos. Or if I know that I'm going to do a good mix, I can just take my a7 IV to do my nice vlogging and B-roll and everything, but then take the photos that I need to take with just this setup. So now let's talk about who this lens is for. This lens is great if you're needing a one lens for kind of like all your needs when it comes down to your vlogging, B-rolls, and photos. You're able to do such a diverse thing with this one setup. So if you're wanting to travel light and have a good travel lens or something that's for content creation for every day, this is the perfect lens for you. With the price tag of $699 and f2.8 for good shallow depth of field and helps you out with low light, you can't really go wrong with this lens. And to be honest, it's probably one of my most favorite lenses that I've bought recently, besides my 35 to 150 by Tamron as well. Because for me, this lens is something that you can use every day and not get tired of it. The f2.8 is something that I've honestly been really thankful for, because I recently tested out the 17 to 50 that's an f4, while it's still a great lens, that f4 aperture kind of doesn't really entice me as much as having a little bit less focal range to have a 20-40 style with having an f2.8. I can just get nice bokeh from it. I get really good for low light. Despite of all these cameras being able to do a lot of the stuff in low light nicer, it's always nice to have a little bit of a cleaner image if you're able to by having a faster aperture like an f2.8 that this lens provides. So if you're looking for something like that, I think this lens would be a great option for you if you're wanting to get something with budget friendliness and as well with good quality that you can put it all together into a great focal range of 20-40 at f2.8. So if that's what you're looking for, this lens is for you. And now let's talk about the only drawbacks I can think of when it comes down to this lens. Obviously, it would have always been nicer to have a wider range. Having like the 17-50 that I tested out by Tamron, that's an f4, would have been nicer to have this lens be that, at 17-50 at an f2.8. Now I know, don't worry, it's the reasoning why they did something like that is probably because, well, they want to be cost effective and the sizing and everything, but also they didn't want to take away from this lens as a 20-40 and their 17-28 that are both f2.8. Because at the end of the day, they're trying to obviously have a lot of options for people, but it would have been nice to have something like that when it comes down to this lens. So that's a drawback if you're wanting to have a little bit of a wider range to have like the 17 range that's really nice for vlogging, but also would have been nicer to have all the way to the 50 range so you can get those nifty 50 portraits that, for me, most of the time, having a 35 and a 50 range is kind of like all you need if you're wanting to do some portraits. But other than that, probably the only other gripe of mine would have been nice to have this zoom in internally rather than externally how it currently has. The nice thing about the 17-50 that I tested out was that the zoom range was internally, and would have been nice to have that with this one so you don't have it just come out from that because, you know, things can get into it, whether it's dust or things of that sort. It would just been a little bit more peace of mind, but despite of that, it's still a phenomenal lens that I can use it for anything that I really need to. So that's kind of like the only drawbacks that I can think of. All in all, this is probably one of my most favorite lenses that I've purchased myself, as well as my 35-150. Both of these come so great hand in hand that I use them basically religiously when it comes down to all my photos and video needs. I can use this lens so nicely when it comes down to gimbal work, or if I want to just have a nice one-stop shop lens, has worked out perfectly for me when it comes down to video and photo. I think if you're wanting to find something that's compact, that really brings, you know, a pack the punch and everything like that, besides all the jokes aside that we had earlier, I think this would be a perfect lens for you. Doing these only lens reviews is something fun because I like to see what I can do with these lenses, what I have done with these lenses if I've had enough time with them that I can, you know, put them to the test. And with this lens, I've used it so much that I've been able to create so many great things and travel with it and use it that I can honestly recommend this lens that is really, really, really a great bang for your buck type of lens because you get so much out of it for the price point, for the good autofocus, for all the things that you can do with it. And I can't speak highly enough of it. And trust me, like I said, I actually purchased this myself. Tamron didn't send me anything because they've been gracious enough to lend me their lenses before. But this one I actually purchased myself just because I thought it'd be the perfect fit for me. And luckily, it really was. Because seriously, for the price point of this lens, the compact body, I've been able to use it with my sling bag that I have from Peak Design. It's just so nice to just bring it in there, take it out, take some photos, take some videos, whatever I need to do with it for the compact size. So if you're wanting to do more travel kind of content and have a small setup like this, I can't recommend this lens enough because you'll probably love it as much as I've loved it myself. But like anybody else will say, it's really up to you because at the end of the day, we're not all the same, but I'm giving you my experiences and hopefully it'll help you out to make your decision if this is the right lens for you. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.